What is good, everybody? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the Ysn Power Hour, all brought to you by our friends over at Toyota. Warren, DJ Yoakley with you. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we got Andy Hake for you today. We're trying again. We did a test today, and hopefully head ball coach can find some time for us in his schedule. But we got a great show nonetheless because we had a chance to sit down with Mitch Hart, the head athletic trainer over at, or personal trainer rather, over at athletics, which, we call home as well. And, Mitch had some great things to say. It is an interview that you cannot miss. If you've got kids, if you're into fitness, if you're into trying to better understand, why it's important, you cannot miss this sit down with Mitch Hart. And of course, we got some things to talk about today. We got some developing news this morning. Sad news out of Canfield, as Mike Pavlansky, the head coach for the last 23 years, is stepping down. He's stepping down. The article, according to WFMJ, says it's time. After 23 years, took his team to 2 state championships, walked away with 1, of course, in 2022 last year. And Coach Pavlansky, the, again, 23-year veteran head coach of Canfield, is stepping away from the Cardinals. And I'll tell you what, I had the distinct honor and pleasure of sitting down with Coach almost every Wednesday this last season for football, and what a great man he is. And I speak of him as a football coach because that's how we all know him. But I learned a little bit more off the record than I did ever, when the red light was on. And I've learned that Coach Pavlansky is one of those guys that he is a great role model for head coaches to follow. He is a great role model for all the fathers out there. He is a guy that loves every single answer was just, his girls were the most important thing to him in his life. And, it's always tough when you have a great coach that has impacted so many, and I mean a ton of student athletes, students, in the classroom, on the football field. Mike Pavlansky was also very instrumental in 2020 with all the goings on with that. I mean, there's a lot of things that Coach Pav had fingerprints on and never wanted to accept even any little bit of the credit, because that's who he is. So sad, I'm happy for him, happy for what he's been able to do for this area and the development of football. And I wish him the best. I know that he's going to do something that he really enjoys, and he deserves it. So, Coach Pav, thank you. Appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Wednesdays will never be the same ever again when we do the Canfield profile. So, in Coach's Corners. Coach Pavlansky, 21 WFMJ has this as a developing situation. So I'm interested to see kind of how this develops. We'll see. Had a chance to text him back and forth and told him how much he means to me and how grateful I am for him and his time and his resources, and especially this year as part of the growth of YSN. So Coach Pavlansky done at Canfield after 23 years, and we're grateful and we're thankful for him each and every step of the way. Hey, speaking of coaches, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we bring in the head ball coach of YSN, the legend himself, Nacho Man, Andy Hake. What's up, Coach?
Oh, yeah. What's going on, buddy? How you feeling?
We're just going over the 23-year head coach, Mike Pavlansky, stepping down.
I saw he did he retire?
Yeah, he's retiring. He's stepping away.
Oh, God bless him. He had a great career.
That's tough, man. I mean, you're young in your career, but I mean, do you ever think about that stuff? Like what it's going to be like
till I die. I'm going to do it till I die. Well, as long as I can get propped up and lead an army down the hill and they follow, I'll do it.
You're gonna be like Weekend at Bernie's. They're just gonna prop you up
Prop
and roll
me
you
up
out there.
like the old man of Europe that I am, and just march me around, man. Just as
I
long as
love it.
kids respond and they keep responding properly, I'm just going to keep doing it. I
I
mean, what
mean,
else is I don't know.
I
Find
got a
something you
couple
like
things you
doing,
could
and
do.
my man. So what else is going on?
No, I mean, let's
What
take it
party
back to
started?
yesterday. Yeah, let's get this party started. So yesterday we were going to talk about the state championships, right? The birthday party, as you like to call it.
Oh yeah,
Um, let's talk some college football. Let's talk transfer portal. Let's do all that stuff, but let's do it over the course
let's have
of.
a good time. Let's dream big. You got to
Let's
dream anyway. You got to dream anyway. Might as well dream big.
let's start with
Yeah,
the state football championships. What was your?
awesome games.
You like those?
Everybody was who we thought they were. You know what it
It's
comes
true.
down to, man? It reiterates everything that I think about football, especially high school football. High school football is closer to little league than it is pros.
How
When
so?
it's in August, July, it's wonderful to do your 7-on-7s, throw the ball around.
We lost
And
your
then
audio.
even when the
There we go.
season starts, it's when the season starts, it's nice to whip the ball around and run that. I've run it. I've run it for years. I've had the
Sure.
quarterbacks that were players of the year in the state of Ohio, a couple of them. But when it gets cold out, the kick of the banshee,
Here it
that
comes.
hey, it's the water bug. You need to have a couple water bugs on the team. But you need to have the kick of the banshee. And you watch the teams that won the state titles, and it's always the same guys. It's what does Kirtland do? What does Marion Local for the most part is running the ball. Those teams out west in the MAC, they're running the ball. Liberty Center was running the ball. Perry had some dynamic athletes. But when you look at all these teams, what's the common denominator? They're running the ball, and they're stopping the run. Because when you run the ball in practice all the time, it makes you better at stopping the run. When you're throwing the ball all the time, it's just a tougher thing because you're not stopping the run as much, and you can say you're working on it, and you can say, oh, we're good, we're ready to go. But when you're running the ball in practice, and getting better at the run, and you're getting better at stopping the run because that's what you're doing.
So let me ask you: if you've had great success in the playoffs over the years, when you see a
I've been
team that
lucky.
likes you like slinging it around, right? If you see them on
I
tape,
like
they like
throwing the
slinging.
ball,
Yeah, but you
but
see
I
another
always
team is what I'm saying. You see a team on tape that likes slinging the ball around. Are you licking your chops, saying, "Okay, that's the water bug. We're the kick of the banshee"?
well, you got to coach your guys up too. But there is some something to be said with, you know, and it's not that Perry team could throw the ball, but man, they had some dynamic athletes. They had guys that were number 12 was a decathlete of the year,
Yeah.
the Adidas decathlete of the year, Grayson or whatever, Braden Grayson. Um, so I mean, it's wonderful spread work when you run the spread and you're working on those things. But when someone just throws the ball and that's all they're doing, they better be dynamic because I've only seen really a handful of teams that could do it. Like I remember Kenton when they had the
Mm-hmm.
mocks, and the dad was the head coach. And they ran that 5 wide, and they won the state 2 years in a row or whatever. Gerard, when they had Mark Wade, they were able to run that spread and be very effective. But look how dynamic those you have so dynamic, and he can run himself.
Mm-hmm.
If not, people. The best formula is go man and put pressure on people, and man, it's hard to sustain drives and just throw the ball. It's difficult to do that. You got to be able to run the ball. I just think you can run the ball at a spread, but you have to be able to run the ball. And if you can't run the ball effectively, you usually don't see teams in the end that don't run the ball effectively. It's
So
high school football. It's closer to pee wee football than it is. Pro
when you,
football is just these acrobats and they throw it up and some acrobat makes a catch. You don't see a lot of counters and traps. Although I've seen some traps, a lot of trapping this year in pros.
yeah,
Kind of strange. They trap a lot of the three techniques. I was watching the Denver Broncos play the Cleveland Browns last 2 weeks ago, maybe. Man, they must have ran 10 traps. It was refreshing, and they murked them doing it.
I love
They
it.
did. They murked them.
So when you're watching all 7 of those games this past weekend, what
Yeah.
what games to you just tickled your fancy?
Liberty Center in Perry. I
Yeah.
thought that was a great matchup. A lot of pride. Versailles and Kirtland was a great matchup. And the games kind of got away from some of these teams, but the matchups themselves, and a lot of pageantry before the game because a lot of the same kind of schools that are always in it.
Mhm.
Marion Local kind of got the better of Dowden right off the rip, but Dowden's not used to. Marion Local has been in that for so long that they know to expect, and they use it as a weapon.
I'm
And
with you.
Dowden's a great team. They ran into a bee's nest there, man. I mean, Springfield and who did Springfield play? St. Ed's. That was a good game. That
Yeah.
was a great game. That's a 5-5 team, Springfield. But hey, they got in the bone a little bit. They ran
Come
right
on.
at them.
Come on. Give me what I want. Maslin and Hoban, man. What a 7-2 game.
Oh, that
That
was
is
one of that was probably one of the better high school football teams. No one could pass the ball. It was really rough. It was really rough to hitting in that game. And Tobin completely shot themselves in the foot the whole game. Just watching the game, they completely shot themselves in the foot the entire game. And at the very end, the guy drops that pass. God bless him, because that's tough. But it's good for Massillon, that Massillon finally won one. And those people are rabid fans, and they just, they were able to win a state championship,
all right.
getting there and getting close.
Sam's got a question for you here. Do you think that a
Yeah.
change of venue down to Columbus would change things? Warmer weather, allowing these teams to air it out to play their game.
I had that interesting conversation with my old high school head football coach when I was watching the game, Lou Lowry. I said, Coach, it would be nice if they could put a dome over one of these things, just a semi-dome, and get these elements out. But where are the games going to be played? Where are they going to be played? It's cold.
It's Ohio.
I don't know what else to say. I thought about it and said, well, maybe if they put it's one of these semi-domes over top of a field, but then I think to myself, what? Like, it's still going to be cold. You're still going to get the elements. It's a conversation of this. Do you think that these SEC teams would want to go play in Wisconsin in November and December? No. Not that they couldn't beat them, but they're not. They wouldn't be jumping at that opportunity to go to Wisconsin in November to play them. It's cold. I don't know if some of those guys ever felt the cold before. So part of high school football is, especially in Ohio, is the elements. And dealing with the elements is, hey, it's cold outside. It's wet. It's cold rain. It's not just raining. It's cold rain. Yeah. And then I remember one time we played Norwalk St. Paul in the regional finals, and it was negative 17 degrees outside with the wind chill. I remember Coach Whitmer brought the ball. He put the balls from all my assistant coaches. He said everything. He came back and said, there'll be no game played out there tonight. I said, what? He said, dude, it is freezing. So I had to get my guys' heads before everyone went out. We're going to bring the fight to them. We want to go out and say, hey, get some snowballs right when we get out there and throw it at them. Throw these snowballs at these kids on the other team when we come out there and tell them, no, it was a great time. And they laughed at it, but it was cold. It was cold. But we were throwing. Danny Rosati was making snowballs and throwing them at the kids from Norwalk St. Paul. Either you're going to embrace those elements or you're going to be a victim to them. Either you're going to embrace the situation or you're going to be a victim to it. That's how that goes.
So you're saying no dome, play the ball as it lies.
It'd be cool if we had the Atlanta Dome in Cleveland, but we don't. So, and part of it is, hey, this is how it is. It's just how it is, and that's why it's wonderful to run the spread. I've always run the spread, but I set my offense up 1 back, 2 back, and would never. I would set them up one back, two back, and three back. So, you're running correlating a lot of the same plays, but you're doing it at different formations. So, you can run your one back plays with power, ISO, counter, trap, toss, and you can just do them at different sets. And I think that you can deal with the elements better when you're able to do that. And the opponent only has 1 or 2 days to prepare for your offense doing that, and you're able to really give a lot of different looks.
One of the things that we talked about yesterday, I know you were watching because we were trying to get you on, but one of the things we talked about was the difference in size. And I think that this area, and I think just general in this country, there's a lot of people that feel like they're entitled to go do things because they try them, right? Because they do them so much
Sure.
that, players in our area, not just in football, feel like because they play at a decently high level that they are obligated and entitled to go to D1. Whereas, coach, when when you go and watch a Maslin and a Hoban or a St. Ed's play, they're they're a horse of a different color. They're a little bit bigger boys, and that's big boy football. For the exchanges that you've had, I'm sure over the years, when kids come to you and say, "Hey, I'm going to play D1," what are those exchanges like for you, and how do you kind of, I don't want to say bring them down to reality, but how do you pitch them on D2 and D3 football or whatever the sport is not a step back?
Well, you know what? When I was a young guy, I was able to be around Tom McDaniels, a little coach, Warren Harding. He won state titles at Camp McKinley, and he had a nice sheet, and the sheet was a logistical sheet for Division 1, 2, and 3. And it was like if a kid said, "Hey, I wanna go D1." Okay, well, how tall are you and how much do you weigh? And then what did you run a 40 in? And then what is your lifting numbers? And then because Division 1 is so logistically based, if you saw the linemen, like you just said at St. Ed's, Glenville had some of those linemen. If you went to a Ohio State practice and saw the size of their linemen, they're absolutely enormous. And then if you go to, I've been to Bowling Green here in Akron again a couple weeks ago. They had big linemen. And people just don't realize. Now you can't measure heart. And when you look at the NFL, there's guys from all over the country that get opportunities, and they're not all from Ohio State and Alabama playing in the NFL. They're from all over the place. So I just think kids need to understand, if you want to play college ball, you can. But you have to go to a place that can correlate with either your abilities, your skill set, or, when people say, "I'm going to go play for Ohio State." Well, you need to have these logistical things in your favor. And if you're not a big guy, you better be blazing fast and have this tremendous skill set. People just, and that's Ohio State. That's like the best of the best. Any D1 school, what a couple of weeks ago, a parent told me, "Well, I'm kind of maybe looking for my son to play a little college football, like West Virginia." And I went, "What? Lower? West Virginia is one of the best. What? That's not lower football." And I'm not saying lower football in any way discriminatory or disrespectful against Division 2 and 3, because that's where most kids I've coached, that's where they're going to go to. Hey, Urson didn't send any guy to Division 1 this year. Well, that running back went to Princeton, didn't he? Well, that was the only other guy.
Yeah.
And the running back from Fitch, I think, went to Ball State.
Yeah,
that's where he went.
Yeah, I've heard Pitt, Ball. There's a couple went to Ball State. I mean, we've got Division 1 athletes, right? But there's
they're few and far between.
They're elite. They're elite,
like,
and I guess my thing is,
Canfield had opportunity.
When I hear people say, and we hear this a lot, and it drives me insane because, listen, no matter which way you cut it, Youngstown State is still a Division 1 program that made the play.
Go watch their practices and see them guys run around.
Well, and I know you've heard this before. People will say, "Well, I'm just going to go walk on at YSU," and it's almost a slap in the face that it's YSU. Doug Phillips has a great program. Youngstown State have great programs over there that perennially look for championship caliber, and people around here, I don't know, because of it's the
You're recruiting
geographical.
against the MAC. You're recruiting
Yes,
against the MAC.
yeah, it's just frustrating from our standpoint, guys that work in sports, right? Because those jobs alone are hard enough. Now you want to have someone that's 17, 18 years old saying, "Yeah, I'm just going to go walk on." Like it's they're stamped it, you know what I mean?
They have no idea. But most people, because they're not a lot of kids have these expectations, and parents need to curb them at home and talk to them about things. And what does it take? And most people have no idea what it takes to play at levels where competitiveness is so great and the stakes are so high. It's hard to even talk about that with children who guy on my team. I'm the fastest kid in town. Well, that doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot in the big scheme of things. Um, you just have to work on yourself and sacrifice and do the things. I think if you focus on the right things, being a good teammate, working hard, being cooperative, being coachable, being good
Grades.
to others. Grades, that's always a big one. That's always a big one. I just think that if you focus on the right things and then go to work, man, it's not what you do. I remember I wanted to be fast, so I used to sprint down the hills. The only way to get faster is to run. There's no other way to get faster other than to
Downhill?
run. Sprint down. There's a hill in Mineral Ridge by Dairy Mart that went. It was really steep hill. I'd sprint down it 10 times a day. You almost fall. You fall on your face once in a while, But hey, if you want to get faster, you have to run. There's no other way. A lot of these guys, football players, they don't want to run track. Well, what are you doing? Well, I'm gonna lift. Well, and that's fine that you're muscle bound, but if you're not fast, the game is running. For crying out loud, the game is running. So I was the head track coach for 10 years at reserve because I wanted to have the kids lift, and then we would correlate lifting and stuff. But I wanted them running, for crying out loud.
Anthony says, being the big fish in a small pond can really go to your head. Once you're hit college, that pond becomes an ocean, and there's sharks in those waters. I think that's spot on, but I think there's
Yeah.
I always I appreciate when seniors are treated differently, right? Because they've been a part of the program for 4 years, no matter if it's whatever sport it is. But I think there's a little bit of softness that happens because your junior year you're hardened and you're almost frustrated in a lot of sense because these seniors are getting a lot of the credit, they're getting a lot of the pats on the backs as they go, and then you become a senior and it kind of softens you a little bit. And then guess what? Now you're out in the real world, and the coach is going to say, I've been chasing your ass for 7 months. I've been kissing it for even longer than that. You're mine now. That happened. The real story that happened at the Division 3 level, Andy. That happened to me. So I can only imagine what happens at the Division 2, Division 1, and professional levels.
Well, you know what? I saw one time an itinerary of the daily lifestyle of a football player at the University of Alabama. And if you saw that, I don't want to play football at that level. Even if you could, it's so rigorous and demanding from 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. The day is filled with their activities, not softball and wiffle ball, and we're going to go play video games. It's their activities from lift
Yeah,
certain spots and going to class, practice, coming back for rehab, working out. I mean, it's all day, every day. But the demand on those on the kids at that level and the top programs, that's why the same teams are always in it, man, because they first of all they branded themselves correctly. Ohio State branded themselves correctly. Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Notre Dame, USC. Even though there's some ebbs and flows and some waves, the same teams are around because they have branded themselves correctly through the. They get the guys, and then they have these programs that are really over the top. You see this McCord enter the transfer portal. Why would he enter the transfer portal? Because I'm just being honest with you. I like Ohio State, but people are insane. People are insane. And had they beat Michigan, do you think he would? You think he would have put in the transfer portal if they beat Michigan? No, he's catching all kind of hell because the coach is catching hell, and the coach probably told him it's vicious. Those guys are vicious. It's not high school football. It's vicious. It's a business. And they probably told the coach, you got to find a way to win or you're out. And he probably told the guy, hey, you got to compete for your job now. You got to compete for your job. And the guy probably said, hell, I went 11-1 and did everything you asked. Things just didn't work out. I'm going to put in a transfer portal. He's probably going to get paid $1 million or $2 million to go somewhere too, because he is a good quarterback, despite what insane people think. The guy's a good quarterback. Is he elite? I don't know.
He's not a number one overall draft pick. I mean, he's not C.J. Stroud.
Stroud was elite. Did he beat Michigan?
No, you're right.
Stroud did beat Michigan.
You're right.
So, but he's just, they're fawning over him. He gets fawned over, and McCord gets told, you're a bum. You can't run. You don't have these abilities. I think it's awful. And I'm not a big Ryan Day fan. I'm not. I don't think but I will say this. What the hell is the guy 46-7?
Yeah.
What? But he did beat Michigan. But how many years in a row did Ohio State beat Michigan?
I get that. But here's what I think about Ryan Day.
Because Jim Harbaugh would have been fired too if that was the case.
Oh, 100%. But here's my thing with Ryan Day, and this is my thing for any coach that likes to attract attention. Listen, you're a guy. You have no problem. I mean, we saw the clip on the way home from the last game. It was the Western Reserve game where you scored, and I think KBN
I know he's not dynamic. I get it. With him, he's kind of
he brings it on himself though, doesn't he?
Hey, after they beat Notre Dame, the first thing he has to do is sound off about Lou Holtz. It's like, what are you doing, man? And it's like, I mean, whatever. I don't hate the guy. I think the guy's a good coach. Do I think he's Nick Saban? No. I don't think he's Dabo Swinney. I don't think that he's Kirby Smart. I just don't, but I think he's a good coach. He's a quality coach. My question is this. If you get rid of him tomorrow, guys you could possibly even ask to come in, who's the guy at Tennessee, the Titans coach?
Vrabel.
Okay, I like him.
I like him a lot.
Now, there's a dude.
I also like Hartline, who's on Day staff.
Oh, yeah. But can't they tell Hartline you call the plays? And because he goes and gets a lot of those guys.
Sure.
He's like, hey, Hartline, you're going to call the plays now. Hey, Day, you got to find a way just to manage these games. And I think he's getting a lot of hell.
Born on third base.
Well, there is something to be said about that. He was quirky and all that stuff. When he made that comment, hey, some people born on third base think they hit a triple, and it's the brand of Ohio State. Listen, you could go coach the Ohio State football team, and I'm just telling you this: they're going to win more than they lose. Now, you know what I mean? They're going to win more than they lose. I mean, you have a brand. You're going to get guys. You're going to have coaches around. Would someone say, hey, he's not the same kind of head football coach that this other guy is? Okay, but you're still going to win games.
Yeah.
Some games.
You just got to win the right games.
It's the brand.
That's the thing with Ohio State. You got to win the right games.
Well, they went 11-1. They had a tremendous year. They should be really proud of themselves. But now I think they got 12 guys in the portal already.
But, Andy, here's the thing. All these college players wanted the heat, right? They wanted the money. They wanted these NIL deals. And anytime you and I both know, anytime you associate and attach a dollar to somebody, there's an expectation for that value.
If that's the case, most of the quarterbacks should go in the portal that are coming back, right?
And hey, there's a lot of people going in the portal
just to get the most amount of money. Dude, Brock Purdy gets paid $870,000 this year. Okay, Brock Purdy in the pros, and this guy's a heck of a player. And I've watched him several times this year, and I thought a lot of them. these college players are making more than him. You know,
Hey,
C.J. Stroud should have went to the NFL.
look at this.
You know,
Jimmy Francis Shelley
I mean,
says, if I didn't have to get
America.
ready for practice, I would listen to you guys all day.
He's a good guy. He's a good coach. He is. He's a good coach. But
Oh, I
you know
love
what?
Jimmy.
When you think about when you think about these college kids and what this is not sustainable the way things are. I remember Saban saying that, and it's not sustainable. You're not going to be able to have this minor league football because that's what it is. It's minor league football teams now because they're getting paid now. What's the balance? There has to be a balance. It's like a gun law. If we said, hey, we should have a conversation in this country about guns. I mean, I'm a big amendment, but when those kids got shot in Connecticut a few years ago, I was the first one to say, okay, there needs to be a conversation. I don't know what it looks like. And you don't know. I don't know what that conversation looks like. But they need to have a conversation. I mean, our political leaders need to have a conversation. What does it look like? I don't know.
But can you do that now? Can you, going back to the portal stuff, can you put a cap on NIL? Can you put a cap on how many people are allowed to transfer?
Well, sure. You're allowed. You're the system. If you're running the system, you can discuss it and have at least conversations and say, I don't know what they look like. Just like that gun conversation I said. I don't know what it looks like, but you're allowed to have a conversation. Damn it, the problem with our country is we don't have conversations anymore.
This is true.
We just hate one side. We hate one side. Because it's so quick to go on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media, Twitter, and say someone's an idiot. So this guy's stupid. And it's like, that's not true. Just because someone from yours doesn't mean they're stupid. You know, I watch these analysts. I think half these analysts are dummies. If you're talking about stupid, I watch a Michigan game. Three of the five guys on the pregame show picked Iowa to win. Are you stupid? You guys been watching football all year? That was a stupid pick. That was dumb. And it's like, well, these guys was it McAfee one of them? He's a nice guy. He picked Iowa. And I'm supposed to be fawning over some of these guys. No, that was a dumb pick. Either someone paid you to say that, or I was just stupid. The last.
He picked Alabama too.
Their defense is good.
Yeah.
Well, Alabama, that was a lot closer of a pick than Georgia or than Michigan and Iowa. Alabama can beat anybody. And Michigan can beat Alabama. There's no doubt about it. Actually, I would think Michigan would find a way. If you told me right now, I would say I think Michigan beats them. But I don't know.
Who do you think wins the Natty this year?
Michigan. It's just the call. That's just me. That's
where I'm at. Tell me, in your space, I think you and I have had this conversation off air. How do you not root for Michigan with all they've gone through?
I think that Harbaugh is a unique guy that gets guys to play really hard for him. Now, you could talk about sign stealing and all that stuff, and then we could go on and on about other instances where everybody's trying to get an edge. I'm not saying maybe the ways that they did it was, but as a guy to get guys to play hard and make it mean a lot. What does he always say? It's the Michigan quote: "The team, the team, the team." And his guys play team ball, ultimate team ball. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have flaws, but I just think that he gets them to play really hard, and it means a lot to them. And I think the same thing with Ohio State. What the hell? They're only they're 21 yards away from winning that game against Michigan. But I see roll tide. One thing I'm not going to do is start rooting for SEC teams against Big Ten. I ain't doing it. And you know what? I will surrender this. Nick Saban is one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Agreed.
Period. Hey, that's it. And someone, hey, go look at the records. Go look what he's done. 7 SEC titles, or 11, 10 or 11, and then 6 or 7 national championships. He won 1 with LSU. He won 6 with Alabama. This quarterback that he has is playing lights out right now. Milroy. This guy's dynamic. It's just You know, you don't know what's going to happen. I think that if I had to pick a team right now, the winner of the Michigan Alabama game, I think, would win it. Um, I'd rather see Michigan win than Alabama. I don't know. Maybe I'm some traitor from Ohio saying that.
Oh,
I don't
I
know.
was
I'd rather see.
just gonna ask you that. Do you feel like most people are just rooting for Alabama because
Here's the
it's
thing.
against
I
Michigan?
like the Buckeyes, but I'm not going. I like the Browns. I like the Chicago teams. I like, but I don't. I don't. I have my own football team, my own players. Um, I'm more interested in their lives and trying to help them and getting to know them and getting them to play hard and finding ways to motivate them and encourage them and unite them and to focus on some millionaire crybaby from Cleveland, um, or some millionaire crybaby from Chicago, or let's face it, Buckeyes. When times are good, man, they're letting. And they want to fire the coach and the quarterback. Guys, come on! I'm not. I'd rather watch get involved in some of the political scene and try to understand why the hell the inflation and gas is the way it is, and milk and eggs, because that's ridiculous. I wish we. Hey, I watch these Buckeye fans and Michigan fans scream at each other and go back and forth. I wish they would worry about the border like that. I wish we could all set our mind on the border and say we have a problem down here. This is a problem we can all unite on. But no, we want to over. Meanwhile, there's real problems in the world right now with Russia, Ukraine, North Korea. We got like, hey guys, by the way, this is China. This is a real problem over here, but we'll keep arguing about NIL and shit like that. I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me. It's just kind of crazy to me. But sports is fun. You got to keep it in perspective. A team in history that I wouldn't root for against. Yeah, I get it. I mean, some people just don't like Michigan no matter what. I get it. You know what I mean? And I do understand. I'd rather a Big Ten team win it
Dude,
than an SEC
there's
team.
some people that I think would root for Al Qaeda before they rooted for Michigan.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, it's a rivalry, but I think that some of this real hate made it unhealthy.
What did Michigan do to Ohio State? What did Ohio State do?
Well, no,
I'm trying to understand this.
It's a rivalry. It's
I get
true
that,
rivalry.
but like not to the point where you want them dead.
Well, it's a true rivalry. But everything in this world is perspective. Everything in life is perspective. Mm-hmm. It's perspective. I mean, I like to see Ohio State beat Michigan, but if they don't, the best team's going to win that year. It is what it is. And when it's over, hey, move on. You're going to play next year, but I'm the team up north and all that. Hey, it's cool. It's fun to make a rivalry. When I was, I grew up in Middle Ridge, and then McDonald was your natural rivalry. And then I went over to get the rivalry because it's a great team to be rivals with because it's a small community that really cares. And it's more admiring them. To some degree, it's admiring your rival. You have to admire them to dislike them. Yeah. You have to say, I admire you so much that you're the guy that we pick you to be the one. Because that's how it was. Hey, when I got to reserve, man, McDonald beat him 23 years in a row. And I said, well, this carnage has to end. In order to win the league or be relevant, you have to beat them. And if you don't beat them, you're not. So to some degree, you have to admire your adversary, but then keep it in perspective because they are Americans. They have families. We're all in this together. You know what I mean? I don't want to have ill will of Blake Corum and J.J. McCarthy. I want to beat them, but when it's over, hey, man, you beat us. You're better than us today. You know what I mean? That's the end of it. And, you should see how things play out. I hope they beat Alabama. I have no attachment to that team down south or whatever.
It's Alabama's big in my wife's family. Like they are huge Alabama fans. Well, my wife will not.
Well, no, I admire them. I admire them. There's no. I
can't do it.
I admire.
I
Saban.
Can't do it, man.
Wouldn't you rather have Saban as your coach? Wouldn't you rather have Saban as your coach?
I'd rather have you as my coach.
Well, I love you, man. You have me. You have me. You have me. You have me for free. You'd have to pay a king's ransom for Saban. You have me for free. What the hell?
Um,
You know what I would like to do if I
what?
could,
Go
if I
ahead.
ever could, like the dream, to Cleveland Browns for 1 year. But
Mm,
tell them at the beginning of the year, I'm coaching it for 1 year. And I'm going to coach it like a high school football team. And I'm going to treat the guys like a high school football team. Either your ass is going to be all in, and you're going to be a teammate, you're going to be coachable, and you're going to be all in, or we're going to get rid of your ass because and then have some of the funnest or the most fun, I don't know how you say that correctly, press conferences of all time. Because if you knew you were going to coach a team for 1 year, you know what I mean? You could be so brutally honest, and instead of being politically correct like a politician, going up there and being politically correct, you could come out there with the hat on sideways and have a Coca-Cola and saying, hey, these guys practice like shit, and this is the reason why things are going the way it is. And you know, hey, we're paying these guys too much. We got this quarterback we're giving $240 million to. You can give that to the Ronald McDonald Fund and get more production. That is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. We got to go get this 38-year-old man off the waivers of tricks, and he's playing hard. This guy's playing hard. I like him as a guy, man. I remember him back in the '60s when he won a Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens, or whatever. I can't remember what I can't remember anyone. But he's playing quarterback for, and they're like, "Oh man, he's going to take us there." And it's like, what? No, he can't. He's playing hard, and I thought he did a really good job the other day because he threw the ball a lot. And he was throwing some BBs, but it's. When I watch it, I go, oh my god, It's like a carnival of carnage.
what would be
For
your
those guys.
first? What would be your first move if the Browns brought you in right now? What would you do?
I put my arm around this Garrett guy and say, this guy's great. This guy's fun to watch, isn't he? Let's all play like him, you know? Even in the good, bad, and ugly. Even when he takes helmets off and smacks other quarterbacks, this guy's playing hard. You know what I mean? We need more of this, less of this. Let's get this guy around. Get a couple more guys like this creature.
Oh my
I
god!
think they have some pieces. You know, it's just a tough ass league, and there's a lot of parity in that league. One week you could beat the San Francisco 49ers. Just don't get too up and don't get too down. But if you don't have a quarterback in that league come the end, you're doomed. If you don't have a quarterback at the end, unless your defense is the '85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, or the Legion of Boom at Seattle, if you don't have a defense like that, you better have a quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, I mean, look at it. Look at the teams that finish at the end. They have dynamic guys behind center. And, you know, the great eraser is this Mahomes. He erases everything. Anything you do, hey, we got a plan for him. No, you don't, because he's going to scramble and make you look like a fool. And I really like what the Philadelphia Eagles do. When you watch them on TV, they do a lot of fun things with the offensive line.
I love them.
A lot of entertaining things with the offensive line. Teams run a lot of counter. You see that in high school. A lot of teams don't run counter in pros or college. They're running counter constantly, and they have an RPO off of it. So if this quarterback's dynamic, he'll dump it, he'll fake it, and this guy on a tight end or a slot will slip out to the flat. He can run it, or he'll just dump it.
Now I know you said that
really
you
dynamic.
you're a Bears fan first. You love the Browns as well. Like, is there a team that you enjoy watching? Just to watch
I
them?
wish I could watch the Bears and enjoy them, but I haven't. You know, they were Peyton and a great defense, and Ditka and Harbaugh as a quarterback. I mean, I like Jim Harbaugh a lot as a quarterback for the Bears. And then, you know, Neil Anderson, said Singletary, are fun to watch as a kid. And then all of a sudden it went away. And then they had a nice run here a few years ago in Urlacher, and they had Hester and them guys. I like the Chicago Bears, but I'm not investing all my time and effort and heart into a pro team. All I'm going to do is let you down. And then what are you doing? You're fawning over millionaires playing a kid's game. Some of them are good role models. Some of them are. They are. Some of them are really good role models. You can't say they're not all good role models. Some of them really are. Some of them, you would think someone would get this Watson in a room and say, hey, get his ass in the room and tell him where the bear shit. Because I don't understand. I'd say, hey, look, this is awful. Like, we paid you all this money, and it's this or that. And I guess he's out now because of shoulder, and he might never throw again. I don't know. It's like, this is awful. What an awful. And the Browns built a dynasty. The problem is they didn't build it for themselves. They did it for the Houston Texans, because they got all these picks and they got all this young talent because the Browns gave a king's ransom up. And I see all these picks they got and how these guys are playing right now. The Texans are someone really in a year or two. Geez, oh man, if they can stay together and stay healthy, that's a good football team.
Yep.
Thank you, Cleveland Browns. Thank you. If you're Houston, because you got so much for that, getting that guy off your hands.
Yes, sir.
And let's face it. I mean, can he ever pan out? You think he'll ever pan out?
Me, I don't. I didn't like it to begin with. I think they gave up their entire franchise for one guy, and I think that's always a mistake.
I mean, how do you pick up other players now? I know you can keep putting it on the back burner, but eventually, hey, we got to pay him now. We got to pay him now. Put on the back burner, put on the back burner. And I know that the salary cap increases, so maybe it won't cripple him. Maybe it won't. But it seems like for a guy, that's not Aaron Rodgers. That's not Mahomes. That's not one of those guys.
But he could be. That's what I always hear. He could be those guys.
Well, C.J. Stroud is having that. Deshaun Watson looked like C.J. Stroud his first year. Deshaun Watson looked like that. He was unbelievable. First couple of years, didn't he look unbelievable? And then he went down with all his bullshit stuff, and then he got in some trouble, and he came on over, and it was like, dude, do you play quarterback? Like, what's going on here?
Sam chiming in says the only border I worry about right now is the one north of Toledo.
I get it. I mean, I get it, man.
We got to go to an interview I had earlier today with Mitch Hart. Coach, any final thoughts today?
Oh no, it was a wonderful high school football season. It was just wonderful. They got to do a lot of fixing with this OHSAA. We'll talk about that some other time. These schools don't deserve to have all their money in these playoff games. That's a real conversation for another time. The OHSAA is really doing a number on these schools.
We should really start talking about maybe doing this a little bit more often. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm down. Hey, I'm down. I could do this all day, talk to you about sports. We can bring some characters on. There's all kind of coaches that would want to talk and give. You have to be someone that's not afraid just to talk about your feelings. Because a lot of people have opinions. They just don't want to, say them. Tell you and me on the side. But they just don't want to say them on air. And I don't blame them, because when you give an opinion, you're opening yourself up for being attacked.
Yep.
Whenever you give an opinion, there's people are going to say, damn it, he's smart. And there's going to be another group that says, he's an idiot. He's an idiot, and that's it. And that's how it goes. And, you just got to be true to yourself. And I think there's a lot of people that have feelings that would like to talk. Get Spade on here. He'll talk.
Oh, boy. You and Spade again.
There's some coaches. Spade is the head of the Ohio Coaches Association this year. Have him come on and tell you how he feels about the OHSAA, a nonprofit organization that makes over $5 million a month, or $5 million a month. That's unheard of. And then it's like, hey, what are you guys doing with this money? Well, you're having elaborate dinners. And you're having vacations and you're talking about things, having committees talking about things. But these schools are putting on big parties here, and you're charging people an awful lot amount of money, and they're not getting there. It's a conversation for another time, But hey, I really appreciate you, man. You're awesome, and you have a great thing going here at YSN, man. People just don't realize. What you offer to the area is really slack jawing, because it's just not. There's no one else that's able to thought about doing it, and if they did, they didn't have the means to carry it out. And being able to prop up young people the way you do, and make their life by giving them a platform, and it makes it larger than life. And you do a good job, man. You really do.
Well, I appreciate you, buddy. No one loves you more than I do. So I appreciate you spending some time with us today. Looking forward to doing this hopefully weekly, maybe daily at some point. That'd be nice, huh?
Oh, hey, look, count me in. I have a show.
Love
We'll
it.
have a show 9 to 11 every day. We'll
Stamp
bring
it.
fun people on there. We'll bring fun people on there. That I can tell you.
People will
Bring
watch. I know
kids
that.
on. Bring kids on. Bring coaches on. Fans on. You know what I mean? Hey,
Oh,
just
that'd
bring
be awesome.
fans on. Hey, bring some Maslin fans on when they walk in out of the bar. Bring them on in here and ask them how they feel about the world. And have them right across from Steubenville fans. It'll be the
Oh
most.
boy,
Get them all cranked up. Get them all cranked up at each other. Get them all cranked up.
Coach, I
But hey, you do a
appreciate you. I'll
great
talk
job,
to
and
you.
we'll do it. We'll do it real soon again, man.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
America by America.
There he goes, Andy Hake, joining us, and we're poking a little bit. There will be a day. There will be a day where it will be a morning show on YSN, and hopefully it's Andy and I doing what I think we do pretty well, and that's entertaining people. We got to go to an interview I had with Mitch Hart over at Athletics. We're going to run a little long today, so if you got to beat feet out of here, that's cool too. It's on ysnlive.com as we speak, already on the page. Now we head over to the interview with Mitch Hart, who's going to talk to us a lot about why we need to be working out and what things we need to be doing to make sure we're not just pounding on the pounds here as we head towards Christmas. Here we go. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is another special episode of, well, we're getting to know you with Mitch Hart. We've had him in here once, and that went gangbusters. I know he's getting a lot more busy, especially lately as the holidays are coming. Everybody, Mitch, looking to kind of cook off some of the food that they're putting into their systems. Appreciate you sitting down with us once again. This is all brought to you by our friends at Athletics, where you can get the best training with my good friend, Mr. Mitchell Hart. Mitch, this time of year, for a lot of people, they're looking to kind of equal out things, right? The intake and the output need to kind of match up. For you, what do you tell people this time of year when people are casually asking you, hey, what can I do to kind of keep the cookies off of my belly?
Well, it's going to sound really simple and probably a little bit repetitive, but you've got to stay consistent with what you've been doing before the holiday season came around. So a lot of people, they'll get into a routine, especially in the summertime. They're feeling good. It's nice outside. They might run a little bit more or something. But then the holidays come around. We get busy. You got to go cut your tree down. You got to set up lights. You got to go, and you're always at the grocery store getting food for whoever's house you're going to. And then you kind of fall out of that routine a little bit. And then people also fall into, it's real easy to go, I'll wait till the new year. I'll wait till, that's my favorite thing. So what? You'll just take a whole month off and then wonder why you gain 10 pounds. So I just tell people, just keep the ball rolling. Like, once you've got some momentum going, don't stop. Don't ever stop.
New new year, new you. That's got to make you almost throw up.
Yeah, it does, because and I always laugh whenever if the new year is a Monday, because that's the most that is the most. Everyone wants to wait till a Monday to start, and it wants to wait to the start of the month or the start of the year. So that's always something that yeah, it does get to me a little bit, but like, and that can be a good way to get some momentum going. Like, if that really helps you, like that New Year's resolution thing, but you gotta last longer than February or March, though. That's a thing. So just don't try to put so much weight on that new year, new me, and just understand that there's no finish line to fitness. There is none. So just once you start, don't stop. Even if you tailor your program to be a little less intense during certain times of the year, if you are getting a little run down, but just keep the ball rolling. Keep the ball rolling.
There's a lot of people that'll come in the new year, new you, new me, whatever, and they're going to buy a 3-year gym membership because most places are going to try to get you locked in
Oh yeah.
for longer. For you, what do you tell people when they want to create a new version of themselves? Do you tell them, hey, take it month by month? Do you take is it different for everybody? What do you tell people?
Here's what I tell people. I say if you want permanent change, you have to change permanently. That is what I try to find like little sayings that stick, and that's one that I always go back to because one of my favorite things this time of year is people will do one of those 24-day challenges or 30-day challenges, and they'll get all these fiber shakes and powdered drinks and supplements, and then those little 30-day challenge programs will also maybe give you a diet plan, right? And so they'll follow all this, they'll lose all this weight, and they're like, oh great, I lost my weight, now I get to go back to doing what I was doing before. And they'll credit the fiber shakes and the supplements, but they won't credit the fact that they would stop going to McDonald's every day. So if you want permanent change, you have to change permanently. And a lot of people don't like hearing that, but that's the truth. If you start eating healthy and exercising more and you start making progress, if you stop doing that, you'll revert back to where you were. So you have to find something sustainable. So the best exercise and diet plan on the planet is the one that you can stick to and you enjoy and you adhere to it and you can do it consistently without resenting it and all that stuff, right? So find the types of exercise that you enjoy. Not everybody likes to run. Start lifting weights. Maybe you like doing, maybe you like going to some type of group class, or you like doing just playing one-on-one basketball with your buddies or something like that. Whatever it is that you like, figure out a way to do it consistently, and then find a style of eating. There's so many different ways to eat that are going to get you to your goal. People like keto. People like vegetarian. People like, the new carnivore thing. People like, low carbs, high fats, whatever it is. Find what you like. Find the healthy foods that you enjoy to eat. Don't force yourself to eat broccoli if you hate it, right? Find the foods you like to eat and stick to them. Lean into the things. Eat the low-hanging fruit. Don't try to make yourself miserable because you won't stick to it.
I think one of the biggest things for me is most people will talk about training, and especially because we are YSN, we are run by athletes and student athletes and coaches. When is a good time, if there is one, to start training your son, your daughter, or someone you look after for sports or just for life, I guess, for better. You talked about diet, you talked about supplements, you talked about all that stuff, just general training and well-being. When's the best time to get involved?
I always say as soon as possible. So there was an old saying back in the day, especially when I was even coming up through all this. They used to think if kids lifted weights, it would stunt their growth because the epiphyseal plates on the end of the bones aren't totally formed yet. So if you start to stress them, they might not reach their true growth potential, was the old saying.
Growth plates and stuff like that.
Yeah. So they're talking about that kind of stuff. And the thing is that you're not, if a 5-year-old kid's in a weight room, how much weight is a 5-year-old realistically going to be able to
tell
lift?
my kid he can't lift something and see what happens.
Exactly. So if I'm lifting weights with a 5-year-old kid, they might work up to, tops, like maybe a 15-pound dumbbell or something for most things. And that's like a full body, like a squat or something. I might have them hold a little weight. That is not enough stress to stress the bones to not grow. So how is it any different than a kid at recess swinging on the swings and jumping off and landing on their feet? That's way more stress than they'll ever get in a weight room. So that's kind of an old way of thinking, is like, oh, you're going to stunt your kid's growth. So that's been disproven several times over the years. So I tell people, get your kid in as soon as you can. It's just like any sport. Like, man, I wish I would have played that sport. Wrestling's a big one. I wish I would have wrestled when I was 5 years old instead of waiting until high school, because look at the development you get from those kids who started young. It's no different than any other sport. You can get kids in the weight room as soon as I don't really look at age. I look at development of just general physical skills. So like if your kid's able to walk around, run, jump, not just fall over all the time, like if they're physically developed enough to handle themselves maturely in a weight room, there's no reason why they can't start lifting weights.
There's kind of I don't know, people think, hey, my kid is too young because, he's still learning the game. She's still learning the game. And, I can't develop that. I'm not going to put X amount of dollars into this. it's more than just basketball or wrestling or baseball or softball or whatever training. You're training the muscles so they can be better athletes and just better, more healthy along the way, right?
Exactly. So for most people, unless you're gifted, after high school, sports are over. Weightlifting or like the gym, it never goes away. You can be in the gym the rest of your life. So at the very worst, at the very least amount of benefit, you're at least going to develop a habit that you can do forever. So the earlier you start, and a lot of science will prove this as well, but the earlier you start anything, the more likely it is to become a habit throughout the rest of your life. So, the studies will show that the earlier people start to exercise, like if they see kids start going to gyms on a regular basis, maybe their dad takes them with them or whatever. Like my dad took me to the YMCA ever since I was a kid. Now I do it for a living, whether he wanted to get me into lifting or not, maybe we didn't have childcare and I had to go with him. But whatever it is, the studies show that the earlier you start getting into a gym routine, the more likely you are to have it as a lifelong habit. So at the very least, you'll develop that.
Yep.
But not only that, we were having a conversation before we got on the air here is with especially young kids. When you watch a T-ball game or a little league, like a little pee-wee football game.
Yep.
The most common thing you're going to see in like really young youth athletes is they're all kind of awkward when they run, or they're kind of awkward when they change directions, or they're always stumbling and tripping and falling. They've got that awkward coordination to them still because they're not developed yet, right? Weightlifting for a kid that age is going to increase what's called like motor unit recruitment or motor unit synergy, or the ability for the muscles and the nervous system to work together as an efficient machine. So when you start lifting weights with a kid, they're not going to just blow up and get real stiff and muscular and like bulky and slow and bogged down. That's the last thing that's going to happen to a kid. What's going to happen first, the first response to resistance training, is that you're going to start seeing coordination improve. So because their muscles are pushing against resistance in a controlled environment, they're going to have a better capacity to handle movement in an uncontrolled environment. So which would be a sports field, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the gym is controlled, the sports field is uncontrolled, but if you practice certain movement patterns in a controlled manner, you're going to be better equipped to handle uncontrolled movement in terms of reaction to a ball on the sports field. So that's the main reason why kids should lift weights. It's not to get them bigger. They're not going to start getting bigger until their hormones start coming through. Like after puberty and stuff like that. You can't just have a jacked 6-year-old, right?
Oh, wait a minute.
We can. We've seen them. Maybe you're mixing whey protein into the baby formula or something. But other than that, no. I mean that's the main reason why kids should start to lift weights, is so that they can push past that awkward coordination stage and fast track their ability to have those really athletic skill sets that you start to see once you get into like later middle school or early high school.
There's no 6-year-olds out there like Lou Ferrigno and Pumping Iron. Arnold.
There might be. I've seen some on the internet, but you never know on the internet.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Like to do this, weekly, monthly, whatever it is. What's one workout that you'd like to see more people average, athletic ability doing that makes a big impact on them?
Deadlifts. Nobody deadlifts. Everybody is afraid that they're going to hurt their back, right? Everyone's like, well, I don't want to deadlift because you can hurt your back doing that. Or I don't need to deadlift. I'm not a power lifter. Well, then tell me why your back hurt after you rearranged your living room. What's that? That's a deadlift. You bend over, you grab the bottom of your couch, you stand up with it, and you move it around.
Pivot.
And then people are. You shouldn't be out for the count just because you rearranged your living room, especially if you're only in your 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. To me, that's still young. Like, you should be able to be physically independent and physically efficient well into your 60s. So, like, to me, like we talk about functional training a lot, and it's kind of like people go, what's functional? Like, isn't everything functional? Well, everything is functional. But to me, there's nothing more functional than a deadlift, because no matter what you're doing, like every day you're going to have to bend over and pick something up. Every day. Now, I'm also a huge believer in squats, but I know a lot of people do some type of variation of a squat, but nobody's deadlifting anymore. Nobody. And I think everybody should. Start light. I'm not saying you got to try to hit a big world record or anything.
No PRs first time out.
No PRs, but you can load a little bit of weight up. And if you're a grown adult, you could start with just 100 pounds. That sounds heavy, but
Listen,
it's really not.
Real talk, dumbbell deadlifts to me are money.
That's fine.
I love them.
Yeah, anything. Just anything where you're practicing. Remember, just like I was talking about with youth training, adults can benefit from this too. Take advantage of the controlled environment in a gym, and all you're doing in a gym is practicing movement. And then over the course of time, you increase the weight maybe by 5 pounds a week, and you do that for 5 weeks, and you've gone up 25 pounds.
Yep.
So that's what you want to look at whenever you're going into the gym, is I'm practicing movements. When I'm squatting, I'm practicing sitting down and standing back up. We do that all the time. When I'm deadlifting, I'm practicing bending over, picking something up off the floor. The better you get at it, the less chance you're going to have of getting hurt when you just go to help your buddy move into his house. Like, that should not be a hard thing to do, right?
No.
So as adults, as human beings, we are very physically durable and capable creatures until we get too comfortable, right? So when we start leaning into the couch and just hanging around and not ever stressing our bodies at all, we become kind of pathetic, really. But if we stay somewhat fit, again, I'm not saying you got to be a competitive weightlifter, but if you go to the gym twice a week and you just pick something up and put it down a couple times, you'll be amazed. It's very easy to become, for lack of a better term, a superhero. And now, like in today's society, I mean, because so many people are, and I'm not even talking about just being overweight, because we know that's a problem, but so many people are just not strong. Like, they're just weak. And so lifting weights, practicing those movements, if you take someone who lifts weights twice a week, they're probably going to be stronger and more fit than 90% of the country, which is insane. So that's so easy. That's such an easy thing to do. And that's my biggest thing, is it's not as hard as people think. You don't have to put so much pressure on yourself to perform in the gym, because you're in there for you, not for anybody else. Put a little bit of weight on the bar. If it hurts, you got too much weight on a bar. Nothing should hurt, right? Everything should feel good. You know, when you take your car to the mechanic, it comes out better, right? At least it's supposed to. So anyways, but it's the same thing. It's like the body shop. The gym's like the body shop. Go in, take care of your body, make it feel good. You should walk out better. And if you do that at least twice a week, understand that you're going to be more physically capable than 90% of your peers.
Win the week. All right, Mitch. We know you're here at Athletics. How else can people get a hold of you?
They can find me on my Instagram, which is Mitchell_Hart08. I'm constantly posting videos on there, just like little clips of the types of exercises I'm running my clients through. So if anyone ever was inquiring about personal training, but you don't really know what you're getting into, hop on my Instagram, scroll through. I got tons of videos, hundreds of videos on there of all the different types of exercises I'm doing. And occasionally I'll do a little how-to videos, like if we get a new piece of equipment, or if I am seeing a lot of people in the gym struggling with a particular exercise, I'll do a how-to video to kind of correct some of those. I try to be as educational as I can, try to provide people with some free value. So definitely hop on there. Other than that, I'm in athletics pretty much all the time. So you can stop in here anytime. I'd be more than willing to help you with any questions you have.
Very modest human being over here, but I will tell you, personal experience, his schedule is filling up. And if you want one of the guys that's going to get it done and cares about you or your kid or whoever it is that he's training, you need to contact Mitch Hart, one of my good friends. That's going to do it. Mitch, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on, DJ.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports